The great ships of the Saxtilian Empire hung in the darkness of space like metal islands. Their smooth surfaces reflected the distant stars as they watched a small blue planet. This planet, third from its sun, was called Earth by its people. Admiral Zex Terra stood on the command deck of the largest ship. His 4 eyes blinked as he studied the holographic display of Earth. The Admiral had conquered hundreds of worlds in his long life. His gray skin was marked with the honor tattoos of many successful invasions. "Is this truly the source of the transmission?" he asked, his voice deep and rumbling. Officer Lent nodded. "Yes, Admiral. Our receivers picked it up 3 days ago." The transmission had been simple but strange. Most primitive planets sent messages of peace or mathematical sequences when they first reached for the stars. This one was different. "Play it again," ordered the Admiral. The ship's AI activated, and the message filled the command deck. "We see you watching. We know you're coming. This is your only warning. Run." Several officers laughed nervously. The Empire had ruled 7 galactic arms for 50,000 years. They had conquered 2,000 different civilizations. No one had ever told them to run. "What level of development are these humans?" asked Sextera. "Our scans show development level 3, Admiral," replied Science Officer Vex. "They have basic space travel within their system, primitive digital technology, and have only recently discovered faster-than-light communication." The Admiral's mouth stretched into what his species considered a smile. Development level 3 was barely more advanced than animals. Such civilizations typically worshipped the Empire as gods when they first arrived. "And yet they threaten us," he said, amused. "How interesting." Zexterra touched the control panel, connecting to the Imperial War Council. 12 ancient faces appeared on screens around him. They had been watching the same transmission. "Your recommendation, Admiral?" asked the head counselor. "Standard subjugation protocols for a level 3 civilization," Zexterra replied confidently. "I will send an advance team to establish surveillance points. Then we follow with diplomatic contact before the main invasion force arrives." The council members nodded in agreement. This was how they had expanded the Empire for thousands of years. The process was efficient and rarely met resistance. "Approved," said the head counselor. "Proceed with first contact protocols." What none of them knew was that their sensors had made a terrible mistake. The humans had not just discovered faster-than-light communication. They had mastered it centuries ago. The transmission the Empire received wasn't Earth's first message to the stars. It was merely the first one they were meant to hear. In a hidden facility deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, General Maria Chen watched the Empire's ships on her own screens. Around her, the Earth Defense Coalition prepared their response. "They didn't listen," she said quietly. Her second-in-command, Colonel Jackson, stood at her side. "Did you expect them to?" General Chen shook her head. "No, but we had to give them the chance." She pressed a button on her command console. Throughout Earth's solar system, defense systems that had been hidden for generations silently activated. "Begin Operation Sentinel," she ordered. "Let's show the Empire exactly why we warned them to run." Lieutenant Commander Viss prepared her scout team for their mission. She was young for her rank, with only 200 years of service to the Empire. But she had proven herself clever and efficient in 12 previous first contact operations. "Our mission is simple," she told the 20 officers gathered in the briefing room. "We will establish surveillance outposts at the edge of Earth's solar system. These humans will never know we are watching them." The team nodded confidently. The Empire's cloaking technology was the best in the galaxy. It had never failed in the conquest of 2,000 civilizations. "The Admiral expects detailed reports on their defenses, technology, and social structures within 14 days, continued Viss. "After that, the diplomatic team will make first contact." 6 hours later, the scout ships entered Earth's solar system. They moved silently through the outer region known as the Oort Cloud, a field of ice and rocks far from the central star. Their ships' engines made no noise, and gave off no heat that could be detected. All ships maintain communication silence unless necessary. Vis ordered from her command chair. Deploy to your assigned positions. The scout ships spread out, heading to different parts of the solar system. Vis watched their progress on her control screen. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Until it wasn't. The first sign of trouble came when Scout Ship 4 vanished from her display. There was no distress signal, no explosion. It simply disappeared. Run a diagnostic on our tracking systems, Vis ordered her second-in-command. Before he could respond, Scout Ship 7 also disappeared from the display. What's happening? Vis demanded, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly in alarm. Her communications officer turned from her station, confusion clear on her face. Ships 4 and 7 aren't responding to any signals, Commander. That's impossible. Our communications can penetrate any. Scout Ship 2 vanished next. Now Vis felt real fear. She opened a direct channel to all remaining ships. All units, activate emergency protocols. Something is hunting us. The answers came back, confused and frightened. None of the scout ships had detected anything unusual. Their sensors showed empty space around them, but something was systematically eliminating them. Vis made a decision. All ships retreat immediately. Return tow. A loud thud echoed through her ship. The lights flickered and warning alarms began to sound. We've been breached, shouted her security chief. Something has cut through the outer hull. Impossible, whispered Vis. Nothing can penetrate our shields. The ship's internal sensors showed movement in the lower corridors. Whatever had breached the hull was moving toward the command deck. Show me, demanded Vis. The screen switched to internal cameras. A single figure moved through the corridors. It wore what looked like a simple spacesuit, nothing like the advanced battle armor of the Empire. On its shoulder was a patch showing Earth's continents and a phrase in human writing. Translate, ordered Vis, her voice shaking. The ship's AI responded. The patch reads, "You were warned." The command deck doors slid open. The suited figure stood there, holding a small device. Vis reached for her weapon, but it was too late. A gas filled the room, and she felt her consciousness fading. As she collapsed, Vis activated her emergency cryostasis implant, her last hope for survival. Her final thought before freezing was a question. How could the Empire have been so wrong about these humans? The Emperor's Grand Chamber fell silent as Admiral Zex Terra finished his report. The disappearance of nearly all the scout ships was troubling news. So these humans are more dangerous than we thought, said the Emperor, his ancient voice echoing in the vast room. It appears so, Your Greatness, admitted Zex Terra. But they are still just one planet against our empire of 10,000 worlds. The Emperor nodded slowly. Perhaps we need a different approach. Send Ambassador Krill. Ambassador Krill was the Empire's most accomplished diplomat. He had peacefully convinced hundreds of worlds to join the Empire without a single shot fired. His soft voice and gentle manner made even the most stubborn species believe that surrender was their own idea. 3 days later, Krill's diplomatic vessel approached Mars, the red planet next to Earth. He was accompanied by a modest defensive fleet of 20 warships, enough to show strength without appearing too threatening. Broadcast our message of peace on all frequencies, Krill instructed his communications officer. The message went out, declaring the Empire's desire for friendly relations and mutual prosperity. Earth's response came quickly. A single human shuttle launched from the blue planet, heading toward Krill's ship. Only one shuttle. Krill asked, surprised. Scan it for weapons. No weapons detected. Ambassador, reported his security chief. It appears to be carrying just one passenger. This was unusual. Most species sent large delegations for first diplomatic meetings, trying to impress the Empire with their numbers. The human shuttle docked with Krill's ship. The airlock opened to reveal a woman of average height with dark skin and gray-streaked hair. She wore a simple blue uniform with no decorations or medals. I am Dr. Elena Sharma of the Earth Defense Coalition, she said calmly. I understand you wish to speak with Earth's leaders. Krill bowed slightly. I am Ambassador Krill of the Saxtilian Empire. We bring greetings and an offer of peaceful integration into our glorious empire. Dr. Sharma's expression didn't change. No guards? Asked Krill, looking behind her. No weapons? I need neither, she replied, reaching into her pocket. The Imperial guards tensed, but she only removed a small crystal, blue and glowing softly. This contains information I believe will interest you, she said, placing it on the table between them. What information? Asked Krill cautiously. This data crystal contains the 73 ways we've identified to collapse your empire from within, she said matter-of-factly. We've already initiated 12 of them. Krill stared at her, trying to determine if this was some kind of joke. The calm confidence in her eyes told him it wasn't. Impossible, he whispered. Your species has never even left its own solar system. Dr. Sharma smiled slightly. That's what we wanted you to believe. Your empire has been under observation for centuries. We know your strengths and weaknesses better than you do. She stood up. You still have time to leave our system. Next time, we won't send a diplomat. As she turned to leave, Krill found his voice again. Wait, the Empire does not retreat. We control 7 galactic arms. Dr. Sharma paused at the door. For now, she said quietly. Check the crystal. Then decide. After she departed, Krill inserted the crystal into his ship's secure reader. As the information appeared on his screen, his 4 eyes widened in horror. The humans knew everything. Imperial access codes, fleet movements, the locations of all their secret bases. Worse, they knew secrets about the Empire that even Krill didn't know. Admiral Zex Terra paced angrily around the war room. The reports from Ambassador Krill had shaken the Imperial Council, but Zex Terra refused to be intimidated by a single planet of primitives. These humans are clever with their tricks and threats, he told the gathered officers. But we have conquered far more advanced civilizations. It is time for Operation Shadow. Operation Shadow was the pride of Imperial intelligence. For thousands of years, the Empire had used it to infiltrate and topple civilizations from within. The plan was simple but effective. Send agents Modify to look exactly like the target species, gather intelligence, and sabotage their defenses before the main invasion. We have prepared 50 of our best agents, said Colonel Vexus, head of Imperial Intelligence. Each has been biologically modified to appear human. They carry memories and backgrounds that will allow them to blend in perfectly. Zex Terra nodded approvingly. How soon can they deploy? The first wave leaves tonight, replied Vexus. They will infiltrate major Earth cities and military installations. Within 1 month, we will know every Earth defense secret. The first 20 agents landed on Earth 3 days later, using small pods that entered the atmosphere disguised as meteors. Each agent had a specific target: military bases, government buildings, research facilities. Their bodies had been perfectly crafted to appear human, down to the smallest details of DNA. For the first week, everything went according to plan. The agents sent regular encoded updates about human culture and technology. The information confirmed what the Empire already believed. Humans were clever, but ultimately primitive compared to Imperial might. Then, in the second week, something strange happened. The regular reports became less frequent. Some agents stopped reporting entirely. Imperial Command assumed they had been captured. Until the messages started coming. The first unusual transmission came from Agent 12, who had infiltrated a human military base in a region called North America. Instead of the standard report, the message contained detailed information about the Empire's own military, troop movements, and security protocols that Agent 12 shouldn't have known. This must be a mistake, Colonel Vexus said, studying the message. He's sending us our own information. More strange messages followed. Agent 7 sent detailed schematics of the Emperor's private fortress, information so classified that even Admiral Zex Terra didn't have access to it. Agent 19 transmitted the complete genetic code for the Imperial High Command, including weaknesses engineered into their DNA by the first Emperor thousands of years ago. Something is very wrong, Vexus whispered, as the messages continued to pour in. The final transmission came from Agent 1, the lead infiltrator and the most loyal Imperial officer ever to serve in intelligence. His message was brief but terrifying. The humans knew we were coming. They didn't capture us. They welcomed us. They showed us the truth about our empire, about how the Emperor has controlled us all. Humans don't just fight wars. They adopt their enemies. They showed me what freedom means. I have chosen to help them. So have the others. Save yourselves. Leave this system before it's too late. Admiral Zex Terra stared at the message in shock. The idea that his perfect agents would betray the Empire was unthinkable, yet the evidence was clear. Somehow, these humans had turned the Empire's best spies against them. For the first time in his long career, Zex Terra felt fear. The Imperial Council gathered in the Emperor's palace. The mood was dark. 3 operations against Earth had failed, something that had never happened in the Empire's 50,000-year history. "These humans have embarrassed us long enough," said the Emperor, his voice filled with rage. "It is time to show them our true power." High Commander Drell bowed low. "What are your orders, Great One?" "Deploy the Planet Cracker weapon," said the Emperor. "Target their moon. We will show these humans what happens to those who resist the Empire." The Planet Cracker was the Empire's most terrible weapon. It could split a world in half with a single shot. Using it on Earth's moon would deliver a clear message without destroying the valuable planet itself. 3 days later, the Imperial flagship moved into position near Earth's moon. The massive weapon extended from the ship's underside, its energy core glowing bright purple as it charged. On the flagship's command deck, Admiral Zex Terra watched Earth carefully. Their sensors showed no movement from the planet, no defensive measures being deployed. "They do nothing to stop us," said Captain Rex, sounding confused. "Perhaps they have accepted their fate." Zex Terra wasn't convinced. "Keep all defenses at maximum." "I don't trust this silence." The Planet Cracker reached full charge, its energy readings off the scale. Admiral Zex Terra gave the command. "Fire." A massive beam of purple energy shot from the weapon, racing toward Earth's moon. Everyone on the command deck watched, expecting to see the moon crack and break apart. Instead, something impossible happened. About halfway to the moon, the beam suddenly curved. It split into thousands of smaller beams, like branches from a tree. These smaller beams changed direction, turning back toward the Imperial fleet. "Evasive action," shouted Zex Terra, but it was too late. The thousands of small energy beams struck every ship in the fleet. They didn't destroy the ships, but instead precisely hit their power systems. One by one, the mighty Imperial warships went dark, their engines and weapons disabled. Only emergency life support and communications remained functioning. The greatest fleet in the galaxy now floated helplessly in space. A transmission came through on all Imperial channels. On the screen appeared a dark-skinned human male wearing a simple uniform with 4 stars on each shoulder. "I am General Okonkwo of the Earth Defense Coalition," he said calmly. "Your attack has been neutralized." Admiral Zex Terra found his voice. "How?" "That weapon has destroyed hundreds of worlds." General Okonkwo's expression remained neutral. "What you just experienced was our smallest defense system. It was designed by our children as an educational exercise in our primary schools." Shocked silence filled the Imperial command deck. "You have 24 hours to withdraw all forces from our solar system," continued the general. "Any Imperial ship remaining after that time will be considered a continuing threat." The transmission ended, leaving the Imperial officers staring at each other in disbelief. Most shocking of all was how the transmission had reached them. It hadn't come through normal channels. Somehow, the human general had broadcast directly to the Emperor's private chamber, a feat that should have been impossible with any known technology. On the flagship's command deck, Admiral Zex Terra made a decision that would change Imperial history. He activated the emergency power reserves and opened a channel to all remaining ships. All vessels, he ordered, his voice steady despite his fear, prepare for immediate withdrawal from Earth's solar system. The Emperor sat alone in his private chamber, watching recordings of the failed attack on Earth's moon. For the first time, in thousands of years, Imperial forces had retreated without winning. This could not stand. "Bring me Keeper Lorith," he commanded. Keeper Lorith was the master of the Imperial Archives, a vast collection of knowledge about every species the Empire had encountered. He was over 2,000 years old, with pale blue skin and 6 eyes that had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. "Great Emperor," Lorith bowed deeply as he entered. "How may I serve?" "These humans resist us in ways no other species has managed," said the Emperor. "I want you to study their history, find their weaknesses. If we cannot defeat them through force, perhaps their past holds the key." Lorith nodded. "I will begin immediately, Great One." For 3 weeks, Lorith and his team of scholars studied everything they could find about human history. They intercepted Earth's communications, analyzed their literature, and examined their warfare tactics throughout the centuries. What Lorith discovered terrified him. Breaking all Imperial protocols, Lorith requested direct contact with Earth's historians. To his surprise, they agreed to meet with him. Through secure transmissions, human scholars shared their historical archives with the Empire. When Lorith returned to the Emperor, his 6 eyes were wide with fear. "Great One, I have studied the humans," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "What I found is unlike anything in our records." "Explain," demanded the Emperor. "Every spacefaring species we encountered followed a similar pattern," said Lorith. "They achieved peace on their homeworld first, then developed space travel. War became a distant memory before they reached for the stars." "And the humans?" asked the Emperor. "They are different," Lorith replied. "Humans spent most of their history fighting themselves. They developed warfare to an art form despite their limited technology. When they reached space, they brought their warlike nature with them. The Emperor considered this, so they are simply violent. This is not surprising." "No, Great One, you don't understand," Lorith continued urgently. "Every other species fought wars because of resources, territory, or survival. Humans fought for ideas, for beliefs, for abstract concepts like freedom or religion." Lorith activated a holographic display showing scenes from human history, ancient warriors with simple spears, armies with primitive firearms, modern soldiers with advanced weapons. "They don't fight because they're threatened," Lorith explained. "Combat is integral to their evolution. They've been preparing for us without knowing we exist." "Surely there must be a weakness," insisted the Emperor. "There is something else," Lorith said carefully. "Unlike other species who develop weapons only when needed, humans create weapons constantly, even in times of peace. They call it deterrence, becoming so dangerous that no one dares to attack them." The Emperor's expression darkened. "You're saying they've been expecting something like our empire?" "Yes," Lorith nodded. "And they've been preparing for thousands of years. Their entire civilization is built on the idea of being ready for threats. Where other species seek harmony, humans prepare for war." For the first time, in his 5,000-year reign, the Emperor felt a chill of genuine fear. He had always believed the Empire was invincible. Now he wondered if they had finally met their match. After the failed attack and the disturbing reports from Keeper Lorith, the Emperor knew he needed more information about human military capabilities. He summoned Fleet Captain Mirasoth to his throne room. Captain Mirasoth was one of the Empire's most decorated officers. Her skin was dark purple with the silver patterns that marked her as loyalty conditioned, a special process that made it impossible for her to betray the Empire. She had led 30 successful conquest campaigns. "Captain," said the Emperor, "I am assigning you a critical mission. You will take a stealth assessment team to evaluate Earth's true military strength." Mirasoth bowed low. "I am honored, Great one. When do we depart? Immediately, replied the Emperor. Your ship has been prepared with our most advanced stealth technology. You must not be detected. 2 days later, Mirasov's ship, the Silent Hunter, slipped into Earth's solar system. Her crew of 12 was the best in the Imperial fleet. Their mission was simple: observe, assess, and report back without engaging the humans. For the first week, everything went according to plan. The Silent Hunter moved through Earth's solar system, recording data on defense systems and military installations. Their new stealth technology seemed to be working. Then, on the 8th day, something strange happened. A human ship appeared directly beside them, as if it had always been there. There had been no warning, no sign of approach. It simply appeared. Impossible, whispered Mirasov, staring at the view screen. No one can detect us through our stealth field. A transmission came through from the human vessel. Imperial ship Silent Hunter. This is Earth Defense Vessel Curiosity. Please power down your engines. We wish to talk. Mirasov's first officer looked at her in shock. They know our ship's name. With few options, Mirasov agreed to meet with the humans. To her surprise, they invited her to visit Earth itself, not as a prisoner, but as a guest. For the next week, Mirasov was shown human cities, schools, military bases, and family homes. The humans made no attempt to hide their capabilities from her. What she saw changed her forever. 2 weeks after her departure, Mirasov's ship returned to Imperial space, alone. The rest of her assessment team had stayed behind on Earth. Her ship broadcast a single message on all Imperial channels: a request for asylum. The Empire watched in shock as Captain Mirasov, their loyalty-conditioned officer, explained her defection. I have seen what humans call asymmetric warfare, she said, her voice steady despite the crime she was committing. They don't fight on your terms. They make you fight on theirs. She revealed that humans had detected her ship immediately, but allowed her to observe their capabilities as a courtesy. They could have destroyed us, she continued, but instead showed me their schools, their art, their families. I saw children playing in parks where our children would be training for war. I saw elderly humans valued for their wisdom rather than discarded as the Empire does. Most shocking of all was her final statement. I defect not from fear, but recognition of something better than our Empire. The loyalty conditioning in my DNA has not failed. It has been rewritten by the humans' advanced genetic technology. I choose Earth. The transmission ended, leaving the Imperial High Command in stunned silence. If the humans could rewrite loyalty conditioning, the cornerstone of Imperial control, then no one in the Empire was truly safe from their influence. The Emperor paced in his private chambers. Every attempt to deal with Earth had failed. The humans had defeated their scouts, corrupted their spies, neutralized their weapons, and even turned their most loyal officers against them. We must decide our next move carefully, the Emperor told his remaining advisors. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered. While the Empire deliberated, something unexpected happened. Human ships began appearing throughout Imperial space. They did not come as warships or invaders. They came as traders, tourists, and diplomatic missions. Hundreds of small human vessels appeared near Imperial worlds, requesting permission to visit and establish cultural exchange. How did they get here so quickly? Demanded Admiral Trevor, who had replaced Zexterra after the planet Cracker failure. They shouldn't have faster-than-light technology advanced enough to reach our core worlds. The Emperor was furious. Arrest any human vessel you find. These creatures mock us by entering our territory. Imperial forces moved to capture the human ships, but something strange happened. When Imperial cruisers approached the human vessels, their systems began to malfunction. Weapons wouldn't fire. Engines shut down unexpectedly. Communication systems broadcast music instead of orders. Meanwhile, on Imperial worlds, citizens were becoming fascinated by human goods and ideas. Humans offered art, music, and stories unlike anything in the Empire. They shared food, medicine, and technology freely with anyone who showed interest. "These humans are infecting our society," complained High Counselor Vex during an emergency meeting. "Our citizens are beginning to question imperial traditions that have stood for 50,000 years." More troubling were the reports from imperial tech specialists. They discovered human code embedded in imperial systems, code that had apparently been there for decades. Admiral Trevor studied these reports with growing horror. They'd been inside our networks all along, he realized. They didn't just arrive in our space. They've been here, watching and waiting. He ordered a complete scan of all imperial technology. The results were devastating. Human programming was found in everything from warships to personal communication devices. The Empire's most secure systems have been compromised for centuries. "They're not just in our space," Admiral Trevor reported to the Emperor. "They're in our machines. They've been studying us from inside our own technology." Most shocking was the discovery that humans had developed a way to upload their consciousness into distributed networks. They existed both as physical beings and as digital entities that could travel through imperial systems undetected. "How do we fight an enemy that isn't just physical?" asked the Emperor, his voice showing fear for the first time in his long reign. "I don't think we can," replied Admiral Trevor honestly. "They've been 10 steps ahead of us from the beginning." Throughout imperial space, human influence continued to spread. They didn't conquer planets or destroy imperial ships. They simply shared their culture, their ideas, and their technology. And imperial citizens eagerly embraced them. The empire that had conquered 2,000 civilizations through force now faced a new kind of invasion, one that targeted hearts and minds rather than territories and resources. And against this invasion, their weapons were useless. Imperial society was in turmoil. On dozens of worlds, citizens had begun questioning the empire's leadership. Some openly traded with humans. Others adopted human customs and ideas. The carefully controlled imperial order was breaking down. After weeks of debate, the emperor made an unprecedented decision. He would meet with a representative from Earth. Not their military leaders or politicians, he told his advisors. "I want to understand how these humans think. Bring me one of their scholars." 3 days later, the imperial flagship arrived at a neutral location, an uninhabited planet halfway between Earth and the Empire's central worlds. A single human shuttle landed nearby. From it emerged not a president or general, but Dr. Amara Chen, a woman with gray hair and kind eyes. Her title was Xenoanthropologist, one who studies alien cultures. The emperor sat on a portable throne, surrounded by guards. Dr. Chen approached alone, carrying nothing but a small tablet. "I thank you for agreeing to this meeting," she said with a slight bow. "It is an honor to speak with the leader of such an ancient civilization." "Why do you humans resist us?" the emperor asked directly. "All others have eventually accepted our rule. What makes your species different?" Dr. Chen smiled gently. "We detected your empire centuries ago. Our long-range sensors identified you as conquerors. We had a choice: build weapons to destroy you, or find another way." "You chose another way," observed the emperor. "Yes," she nodded. "We studied you carefully. We learned your language, your culture, your technology. We understood that your civilization depends on control, uniformity, hierarchy. Humans are different. We thrive on adaptation, diversity, and even chaos." The emperor's eyes narrowed. "You speak as if your way is superior." "Not superior," Dr. Chen corrected. "Just different. Your empire has brought stability to thousands of worlds. But at what cost? Your citizens have no freedom to choose their own paths. Your conquered worlds have no voice in their governance." She activated her tablet, showing images from across imperial space. Citizens meeting in secret to discuss human ideas, imperial youth adopting Earth styles and music, outer worlds beginning to govern themselves. "Your civilization is already changing from contact with us," she said gently. "You can fight it and lose everything, or embrace it and create something greater. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. What do you propose? Dr. Chen's eyes lit up. Instead of conquering Earth, learn from it. Allow Imperial world self-determination within a new galactic federation. Share power rather than imposing it. Unite through cooperation rather than force. And if we refuse? Asked the Emperor. Then we continue as we are, she replied simply. Your outer systems will gradually break away. Your citizens will increasingly question your authority. Your empire will slowly unravel, not through violence, but through the power of ideas. The Emperor studied this human woman carefully. In his 5,000-year life, he had conquered countless worlds and faced many enemies. But he had never encountered a species that fought not with weapons, but with concepts that could change minds and hearts. For the first time, he considered the possibility that the Empire might need to change to survive. For 3 weeks after meeting Dr. Chen, the Emperor stayed in his private chambers. He spoke to no one as he considered the future of his empire. Outside, change was already spreading. On 100 imperial worlds, citizens were talking openly about human ideas like democracy, freedom, and self-determination. The Emperor had 2 choices: fight against this tide and risk losing everything, or adapt and perhaps create something new and greater. On the 50th day after the failed attack on Earth, the Emperor called together the Imperial Council. I have made my decision, he announced. His ancient voice echoed through the Grand Chamber. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Saxtilian Empire will not conquer a discovered civilization. Instead, we will form an alliance with Earth. Shocked whispers filled the room. Such a thing had never happened before. Great One, protested High Counselor Vex, this breaks 50 millennia of tradition. We conquer. We rule. We do not ally. The Emperor's eyes flashed. And yet we face a species that cannot be conquered through our traditional means. We must evolve or face extinction. 1 month later, representatives from Earth arrived at the Imperial Capital World. In a ceremony broadcast across 7 galactic arms, human diplomats signed a treaty of cooperation with the Empire. The treaty created a new galactic federation, where planets could choose their own leaders and make their own laws while remaining part of a larger union. The Empire would share its technology and stability. Earth would share its creativity and freedom. Admiral Zex Terra, who had once been eager to subjugate Earth, now stood in a new uniform. The Imperial Silver was joined by Earth Blue on his shoulders. He had been named commander of the first Joint Human-Imperial Exploration Fleet. As their ships prepared to venture beyond known space, Zex Terra found himself working alongside Admiral Sofia Hernandez from Earth. He still didn't fully understand how everything had changed so quickly. "May I ask you something?" he said as they reviewed star charts together. Admiral Hernandez nodded. "Of course. Why didn't humans simply destroy the Empire when you had the chance? Your technology was clearly superior. You could have eliminated us." She smiled. The warning to run wasn't a threat. It was a test. "A test," repeated Zex Terra, confused. "Yes," Hernandez explained. "If you'd respected our boundaries, we would have left you alone. By coming anyway, you proved you needed us." "Needed you? For what?" "To learn," she said simply. "Your empire conquered 2,000 worlds, but it stopped growing in any meaningful way. You had technology, but no creativity. Power, but no purpose beyond getting more power." Zex Terra considered this. "And humans, what do you gain from this alliance?" "Structure. Stability. The experience of 50,000 years of history." Her eyes met his. "The greatest human strength isn't our ability to fight. It's our ability to turn enemies into family." As their fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Imperial historians were already marking this moment. It wasn't the end of the Empire, as many had feared. It was the beginning of something new. Not the age of conquest, but the age of humanity. Throughout the galaxy, worlds that had trembled at the Empire's approach now watched with hope as humans and Imperials worked together. The message had changed. They no longer needed to run.